Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive deep into the world of Anandamayi Maa. This Indian woman mystic, her teachings, they're still so powerful today.
It is fascinating. No formal training, yet she became this huge spiritual figure. How did that happen? That's what we're going to figure out today.
Right. Our deep dive today uses excerpts from Anandamayi Maa, timeless spiritual teachings of a woman mystic. And there's this one quote that got me thinking. From when she met Paramahansa Yogananda in Autobiography of a Yogi, she says, "I was the same. Before I came on this earth, I was the same. As a little girl, I was the same. And Father, in front of you now, I am the same." It makes you think, doesn't it? How can someone stay the same, like fundamentally unchanged throughout their whole life?
It really does make you question what self even means, right? What I think Anandamayi Maa is talking about here is like a deeper essence, something that doesn't change beyond, the body and all the stuff that happens in life, the spiritual core. It just stays constant no matter what's going on around us.
So she's saying we shouldn't just identify with our personality or what happens to us, but with this unchanging part of ourselves, this eternal part.
Exactly. And realizing that can bring real freedom. If our true self isn't limited by time or space or anything that happens to us, then we can handle all the ups and downs of life, the good and the bad, with a sense of peace, detachment.
That's a powerful thought, especially if you're on a spiritual path. It's like true spiritual growth isn't about learning more stuff or achieving
Never.
some specific state. It's about recognizing this unchanging essence that's already inside us and connecting with it.
That's it. And get this, Anandamayi Maa didn't even follow the usual path of a spiritual teacher. No formal guru, didn't initiate people in the traditional way. She even said, all paths are my paths. It's almost as if she herself embodied that spiritual freedom, like she recognized that everyone's journey is unique.
It makes you wonder if she chose this unconventional way on purpose to show us that real spirituality can't be like boxed in by rules and structures.
That's a really interesting point. Her whole life seems to back up that idea. Spirituality, it's a process, it's organic, it unfolds differently for everyone. There's no single right way. It's about finding what really resonates with your own soul.
And even when she was little, there were hints of this unique path. The text talks about how she loved being alone, and even as a child, she was detached from worldly things.
These early signs, they suggest this inborn connection to something beyond the ordinary, a deeper reality that most kids don't even notice. Almost like she was tuned into a different frequency, one that vibrated with spiritual energy that most people only discover much later in life.
It's like these mystical qualities were part of her from the very beginning, leading her towards a destiny that went beyond all the usual norms. And speaking of unconventional, her marriage is where things get even more interesting. The text describes how she had a celibate marriage with a man who became her devoted disciple.
It was definitely more than just an unusual setup. Think of it symbolically. Her marriage represented this transcendence of earthly desires, like attachments. It's as if she was showing that true fulfillment doesn't come from following societal rules, but from a deeper spiritual connection.
So it wasn't that she was against marriage or relationships entirely, but she redefined them in a way that fit with her spiritual path. It challenges us to think about how we can bring more purpose and meaning to our own relationships, to go beyond the surface and connect with that divine spark in each other.
Yes, exactly. And this detachment from worldly things, it even went to her physical needs. The text mentions how she didn't care much about taste. She'd eat sweets and spicy curries with the same attitude. Like the pleasures and discomforts of the body just didn't matter to her.
Almost like she was demonstrating that true freedom comes from letting go of our attachment to, I don't know, the physical realm and aligning ourselves with a higher reality. Which brings us to Sanyam Saptah, a whole week dedicated to intense spiritual practice that Anandamaya encouraged. Sounds intense.
It was. But not in the way you might think. It wasn't about shutting yourself off from the world completely. It was more about how to weave spirituality into your everyday life.
So like finding those quiet moments, connecting with yourself, even in the middle of a busy day, kind of a mini retreat for your soul, you could say.
Exactly. And that gets to the core of Anandamayi Maa's teachings. She got it. Most people can't just drop everything and become ascetics. It's about finding that sweet spot between your spiritual goals and, the demands of daily life. It's amazing, really, how Anandamayi Maa's teachings are both, like, mystical and practical. She didn't say you had to run away from the world to find enlightenment. It was about recognizing the divine right here in your everyday life. especially with family, your relationships.
Yeah, it's like she's saying, hey, the divine isn't off on some mountaintop. It's right here in all the messiness, the beauty of your life.
Right. And the stuff she says about family, it's really insightful. Try to imagine it, seeing your spouse, not just as your spouse, but like a manifestation of Lakshmi or Vishnu, your kids, Krishna or Kumaris.
Hmm.
It makes the everyday stuff feel sacred. It brings this reverence into your family.
It's a lovely thought, but gotta be honest, it sounds hard. Like when you're in the middle of an argument, dealing with all the normal frustrations of family life,
And
how do you actually hold on to that perspective?
it's not always easy, no. That's where the practice comes in. You got to make the choice consciously to shift how you're seeing things, to see that spark of the divine, even in the tough moments. When your patience is wearing thin, instead of getting angry or frustrated, you stop. You ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn here?
Yeah.
How is the divine showing up in this situation?
So you turn those everyday challenges into chances to grow spiritually. Your family members aren't the problem. They're like mirrors, showing you parts of yourself that need work, need healing.
Exactly. It all comes back to that interconnectedness. Nothing is random. Our relationships, they're divinely orchestrated. They're chances to grow, to evolve.
It's a whole different way of looking at things. And it reminds me of that idea of renunciation that we
Mhm.
were talking about. Anandamayi Maa said the greatest renunciation is when people give up reality for illusion. What do you think she meant by that?
I think what she was getting at is how we get lost in our own heads. All our fears and what we want and judging everything. We build this whole story about ourselves and the world, and we cling to it so tight we miss the beauty of what's actually real right in front of us.
So real renunciation isn't about running away from the world. It's more about letting go of the stuff inside that stops us from experiencing reality as it is. Letting go of the idea that we're separate and realizing that we're all connected.
You got it. Surrendering to the present moment. All of it, the good and the bad. Trusting that even when things are chaotic, uncertain, there's a divine order to it all.
That's powerful, especially these days, right? We're constantly bombarded with stuff, distractions, anxieties. Anandamayi Maa's teachings, they offer this path to inner peace, not by escaping the world, but by changing how we relate to it.
And to think, this incredible wisdom came from a woman with no formal education, no specific spiritual lineage. It shows you that true spiritual authority, it comes from within, from deep realization, the power of just being present.
It's a good reminder. That divine spark, it's in all of us, waiting to be woken up. Anandamayi Maa's life, it's like a beacon, showing the way for anyone who wants to connect with that light inside and bring it out into the world.
Her legacy, it still inspires so many people on their spiritual journeys. Her teachings, they haven't aged a bit. They're timeless. They go beyond culture. They speak to that universal need to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Her life was such a perfect example of her teachings. It wasn't just talk, she lived it, radiating love and wisdom that touched everyone she met.
And through her example, she's inviting us all to consider, how can we embody those same principles? How can we turn our everyday experiences into opportunities for spiritual growth? How can we see that divine presence in every moment?
Her message is this powerful reminder that being spiritual, it's not a solo mission. It's a journey you take within your relationships, your community, how you interact with the world.
And as we navigate this complicated modern life, her teachings offer this beacon of hope. They remind us that true fulfillment, it doesn't come from what you achieve or the stuff you own. It comes from realizing that we are fundamentally one with the divine.
That's a pretty deep thought. It makes you want to look beyond the surface of things, explore the mysteries of life, embrace the power of love, compassion, and that sense of connection we all share.
And as we go into the final part of our exploration, let's keep thinking about this question. What if we really embrace that idea of seeing the divine in everything we do, everyone we meet? How would our lives change? It's something worth exploring further as we look at how to put Anandamayi Maa's wisdom into practice.
Through all these discussions about Anandamayi Maa's teachings, I'm struck by this feeling of lightness,
Yeah.
joy. That seemed to be part of her whole life. It wasn't about rejecting the world or following strict rules.
Yeah, she really had that balance. Deep spirituality, but also a love for life. It comes out in her humor, how she saw the divine in the simplest things.
It's like she knew that spirituality wasn't about being super serious all the time or trying to be some kind of perfect being. It was about embracing everything about yourself,
Why?
the good, the bad, and seeing that divine spark shining through it all.
Totally. Remember that story where someone was praising her for all she'd renounced, and she's like, giving up reality for illusion, that's the real renunciation. So insightful, and she says it with this playful tone.
She was amazing at cutting through all that spiritual stuff and getting right to the point. And what she's saying there is so important. We get so stuck in our own heads, our worries, what we want, judging everything. We forget to see the beauty that's right here.
It's like we're living in a dream world, disconnected from what's real. And that disconnect, that's where a lot of suffering comes from.
So in Anandamayi Maa's teachings, they offer us a way back, a way to connect with who we really are and experience the divine in every moment. But for those of us who aren't, living in an ashram, how do we actually bring this into our lives, our modern busy lives?
One thing you can try is finding moments of stillness throughout your day, even just a few minutes to meditate, to focus on your breath. It helps you quiet your mind, be more present. It's like hitting pause on all those thoughts and worries constantly running through your head.
I know what you mean. It's easy to get swept up in all the busyness and you lose touch with that inner peace. So what you're saying is those quiet moments aren't just about relaxing, they're actually a way to experience the divine.
Exactly. From that stillness, you start to feel grateful for the simple things: the warmth of the sun, good food, hearing people you love laugh. These everyday things, they become sacred when you experience them with an open heart and a quiet mind.
It's about shifting your attention,
Hmm.
right, from what you don't have to what you do have, recognizing all the good that's already there. And I imagine the more you do this, it starts to change your whole outlook.
For sure. The world seems brighter, you feel lighter, your relationships get stronger. It's like you're tuning into a different channel, one that's all about love, compassion, being connected to everything.
And that feeling of oneness, that connection, that's the core of Anandamayi Maa's message, isn't it? She wasn't saying go hide from the world. She was saying change how you see the world.
Yeah. The divine isn't out there somewhere. It's not something you have to earn. It's already inside you, in every moment, every experience. When you realize that, your whole life becomes an expression of that divine essence.
That is a beautiful, powerful message. It's about living with a sense of wonder, respect for life, and deep gratitude for just existing. It's
Yeah.
not escaping the world, it's embracing it with an open heart and an open mind.
And as we all continue on our own paths, let's remember what Anandamayi Maa taught us: that playful spirit, those deep insights, and her belief that goodness and divinity are in all of us.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and teachings of this amazing woman, I want to leave you with a question. How can you use Anandamayi Maa's wisdom to bring more joy, more presence, more connection into your own life? Remember that the divine isn't something you have to search for. It's right here, right now, within you and all around you, just waiting to be experienced.